Why is there extreme distrust of the government? Because the government lies, right? Politicians lie, lawyers lie, and those are politicians. Lawyers is like the number one profession inside of government. Probably because, they know how law works, but in all, they end up being so they have to write vague laws, or they have to keep stuff secret. Why I actually do not discount conspiracies, even if I don't believe in them. Welcome to the Gap Fillers podcast. My name is Michael Bradford. Let's get started. Now, I have to admit, I've avoided this kind of topic for a while, particularly because it's such a cliche podcast format, right? So conspiracies almost are driven, or podcasts, I should say, are completely driven a lot of times by conspiracies. I mean, that's a lot of how Joe Rogan got his start. That's a lot how a lot of other people continue to do, YouTube videos and stuff like that, and inviting people with their most outrageous theories. I don't discount them, and I'll tell you why in a second. But whether it's UFOs, moon landing, and in fact, this is the reason I'm bringing it up, because of the Artemis 2 rocket, which I saw go up this week. Why I don't discount them is because you end up reinforcing their point of view, because they already have an extreme distrust of government. I have an extreme distrust of government, completely. In fact, you can say, I'm a young earther, so, I believe in the 7-day creation of the Bible. So in some way, you can say I'm the original conspiracy theorist, if that's the way you want to look at that thought process. But, and all in all, I don't discount them. Why? Because you reinforce their belief by pushing back very hard, right? You don't want to reinforce their belief or their distrust. You want them to explain, and you almost want somebody to try to arrive at the truth by leading them, as opposed to forcing them or scoffing at them, right? So if you try to force too hard, you end up reinforcing it, because it's a form of religious belief, right? It shows it's a form of conviction that they have, that the more people that push against them. Now, some of them are looking for attention. You're not wrong on thinking that. The problem is that you give them attention by, it's like interacting with a troll online, or somebody who's trying to get you worked up. That doesn't mean that I believe them. That doesn't mean that because I don't shout them down that I support their, or even think that more people should hear about that. But what I like to do is have a conversation, because I want to know why somebody believes what they believe, right? So I was talking, in fact, one of the other reasons this whole thing came up, talking about the Artemis with somebody else who we started talking about other conspiracy theories, and we started talking about the moon landing, or we started talking about the flat Earth, and then 9/11. So we talked about several different areas of conspiracies, and once you see that one person, they believe in possibly the moon landing one, it's not a hard leap for them to believe in the JFK assassination, or the Twin Towers being a setup. So the worst thing you can do is tell them off, laugh them off, or just hammer them with facts. You want them to try to arrive at a logical fallacy, and then try to lead them into, well, does that really make sense then? Okay, so why do conspiracy theories exist? Because there's an extreme distrust of the government. Why is there extreme distrust of the government? Because the government lies, right? Politicians lie, lawyers lie, and those are politicians. Lawyers is like the number one profession inside of government. Probably because, they know how law works, but in all, they end up being so they have to write vague vague laws, or they had to keep stuff secret. And so, in doing so, people, when they know they're being lied to, oftentimes they do two things. One, they convince themselves that they're wrong, and that everyone else, the government, is true. So they they end up jumping way into the deep end on trusting the government. They'll always say the other party is bad, but they'll never say that their person, this time, they're correct. So that's the one side. And the other side is that, everybody's lying to me about everything. You can't trust anything anybody says ever. In which doing so, you lead into all of the conspiracies, right? So I don't discount them. In fact, the ones I have the best kind of talking to are flat earthers. Why? Because they like to talk, right? Conspiracy people like to talk. It's kind of like their MO. That's why you get a lot of people attention, wanting attention in that kind of area. But they love to talk because they think they have the kernel of truth that they need to share. And so in that way, it becomes a religious belief. And so they will love to talk to you. Now, so the best thing you can do is just ask why, right? In business, there's something called the 5 whys, right? So in order to get to the root cause of a problem, you ask why 5 times, right? So, it's that annoying thing that kids do. But why? But why? So you kind of lead them into that, right? So you almost turn their kind of logic on their head, right? So why does the government lie to us? Well, there's aliens. Oh, why do they lie to us? Well, they're covering up. Not wrong. There was a comedian a while ago that had a bit. I'm not going to butcher it, but basically he says, I lie to my kid all the time. You tell me the government is batting 1,000? No, the government lies to you all the time. The problem is that if you say the government is always lying to you, then you can't take the most pragmatic ones and say, see, these ones you should believe me, because these ones are the ones that they're really lying to you about. And so those are the ones that that's why conspiracy theorists are often pushed, I believe, by the government or by the media, because they want you to discount the people that say, whoa, COVID's kind of funny, or whoa, Epstein, whoa, why are we in Iraq? So in doing so, that's the disinformation and the misinformation that is truly inherent in intelligence, in the CIA kind of, in the counterintelligence. And in fact, that's a form of counterintelligence. So you don't go attacking, you don't go, even if you believe all of these conspiracy theories that I just named, you pinpoint certain times and you choose when to deliver, as opposed to always talking about the moon landing being fake, or always talking about aliens, right? Although, funny enough, the alien one has been more accepted in modern day society, and I blame the History Channel for that one. Looking at you, ancient aliens. But so all of these things being fake, all of those I probably generally don't believe. My idea, though, is how does it affect my life now, or what can I do about it, right? So if the moon landing is fake, how does that affect my life? Well, the government's always lying to you. Okay, well, we know the government's lying to us a lot. So, but why does focusing on one 50 years ago, 60 years ago affect my life? It doesn't. It honestly doesn't. If I already have inherent distrust of the government, trying to say the Apollo moon landing is fake, the only thing that's going to do is actually push me further away from you and further into maybe the government and maybe these guys are psychos, right? So the idea is you want to focus on the ones that are always the current, right? So Iran. Why are we fighting Iran? Well, the conspiracy would be that we're fighting it for Israel. Not a bad thought, right? now, the always you want to do is K bono, right? You want to know who benefits. All right, so who benefits? Israel. So you got a logical, there's a pathway there. 100%. You can dive into the APAC, and you can dive into everything. Okay, now? How does it benefit the U.S.? I've said it doesn't, but that's not because there's not reasons, but those reasons are bad, right? So one of the reasons would be to disrupt the main oil supplier, or the last main person in the Middle East that would be able to support China or Russia, right? And that would if you don't allow China or Russia to have an influence in Iran and the Middle East, you don't have global oil disruption like you do now if you can get them under control. The problem is that you have to deal with it now. You're taking a giant risk, and Russia still has oil, right? So you're kind of siphoning off the area for if China wants to hurt the U.S. or hurt the global economy the most during a Taiwan blockade or something. That's where they would be. They would kind of try to do it in conjunction when the time is right. That's why they're not doing it now. So now, whether, like I said, the big thing about conspiracy theorists is that they can be true, but how does it benefit you proving it's right? Okay? People don't trust the government. People trust their part of the government, right? And always discounting what they say all the time isn't an appropriate way to get them to agree with you, right? So whether you're coming from the conspiracies are nuts or conspiracies are almost always true, both of them are usually using the wrong technique in attacking. I firmly believe that you should talk to them, right? So if I say with the flat Earth, if you go with the obelisk shadow at one point of the Earth and you go north and you get a different obelisk shadow length, how do you show those two are different? Okay, now they can definitely develop a theory, right? The sun is much closer than we believe. They didn't travel as far. The Earth is maybe flat but donut shaped. I don't know. You can come up with a logical. In fact, that's what people love to do. Even non-conspiracy theorists, people don't like being wrong. So you can come up if somebody truly believes something like flat Earth, they can quickly develop ways of being excusing or justifying their point of view. Now, does that benefit you? It can. I think one of the problems that conservatives have, and now liberals especially, because of the way that they get positive feedback, is that they become their own little bubble. They don't interact. They see the other bubble and they say everybody else in that bubble is crazy, and so they don't talk to them, and so they don't convince anybody on the other side, but they also lose people on one way or the other. Maybe the people that are closer to the conservative side, or closer to the liberal side. If you're completely nuts, you push the other. You push the others apart. So, anyways, that's kind of my thought on conspiracies, particularly with Artemis being in the news today, this week and launching from Cape Canaveral. It was an awesome rocket launch. Although I wanted to see a space jellyfish. Look it up. If you don't know what a space jellyfish is, I think they're pretty cool. You can only really see them in Florida right about twilight. But thank you for joining me for this podcast. If you enjoyed, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think about conspiracies. Which one's your favorite? My personal favorite is birds aren't real. That's always a fun one. And then don't forget to share if you enjoy the podcast. Thank you for joining me, and see you in the next podcast.